Welcome to Unit 8, Level 2 video notes. We're going to exhibit knowledge of number concepts, including prime and composite numbers, multiples, divisibility, prime factorization, and greatest common factor. Whew! For these examples, we're going to check if each number is divisible by 2, 3, 5, or 10. If a number such as 12 is divisible by 2, that means that the other factor is also an integer or whole number. A non-example of a number being divisible, let's say by 5 here, 12 divided by 5 is 2.4, which is not a whole number or integer, so 12 is not divisible by 5. To check if this number is divisible by 2, 3, 5, or 10, we could take our calculators and divide by 2, then divide by 3, then divide by 5, then divide by 10 to see if we get a nice answer. However, there are shortcuts to finding out if 2 is a factor or if a number is divisible by 2. So a number is divisible by 2 if it's even. And all even numbers end in 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0. So that means if a number ends with a 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0, it is divisible by 2. So our number here ends in a 0. So that means that, this number divided by 2 is a nice answer. Let's do if a number is divisible by 5 next. A number is divisible by 5 if it ends with a 5 or a 0. So like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And as we can see here, this number ends in a 0, so therefore it is divisible by 5. When is a number divisible by 10? Well, 10 is a factor if the number ends with a 0. And this one does end with a 0, so it is divisible by 10. Checking if a number is divisible by 3 takes a little bit more work. We have to add up the digits. So we're going to find the sum of the digits. And if the sum of the digits is divisible by 3, the actual number is divisible by 3. Let's try it out by adding all the digits of this number. So 5 plus 6 plus 2 plus 7 plus 8 plus 3. Go ahead and continue in your calculator, add up all the digits. So why don't you hit pause and do that. Whether you found the total using your head or with a calculator, you should get 63. So the sum of the digits is 63. Is that divisible by 3? Well, yes, it is. 3 goes into 6 2 times. Bring it down. 3 goes into 3 1 time with no remainder. That means 3 is a factor of 63. So therefore, this number is divisible by 3 as well. Now hit pause and try letter B. This number is even because it ends in a 2. So since it ends in a 2, it is divisible by 2. Is it divisible by 3? Well, if you took the moment and added up all those digits, you would have gotten 58. And 58 divided by 3 is 19.3 repeating. So 3 is not a factor of 58, so 3 is not a factor of that large number. To check if it's divisible by 3, we add up the digits, and I got 58 when I added all those up. Now, if 58 is divisible by 3, so is this number? Well, 58 divided by 3 is 19.3 repeating. So since 3 is not a factor of 58, it's not a factor of that large number. So 3 is not an answer. If it's divisible by 5, it should end in a 5 or a 0. It ends in a 2, so it's not divisible by 5. And is it divisible by 10? Well, if it ends in a 0, it is, and it does not end in a 0. So the only answer for letter B is divisible by 2. Our next example of something is prime or composite. And prime means it's divisible by 1 and itself. So there's only 2 factors, 1 and itself. And something is composite if it's composed of many factors. So it has more factors than one in itself. If we want to determine if 43 is prime or composite, we want to divide by lots of numbers to see if we get more than just one in itself as factors. Start dividing by some numbers. 43 divided by 2 is a decimal because 43 doesn't end in a 2, 4, 6, or 8. So since we get, or 0, since we get 21.5, 2 is not a factor. That means all other even numbers are not going to go into that 43. 43 divided by 3 is actually a waste of time because if I add those digits, I get 7. 7 is not divisible by 3. So 43 is not divisible by 3. Get a decimal. 43 divided by 4 is a waste of time. 43 divided by 5 is a waste of time because that doesn't have a 0 or a 5. 43 divided by 6 is a waste of time because that even number didn't work. 43 divided by 7, that's worth it, and it doesn't work. 43 divided by 8, waste of time. Divide by 9, that would have worked possibly if this one did, but it doesn't. So 9 is actually a waste of time because that has a factor of 3. 43 divided by 10 is a waste of time because that does not end in a 0. 43 divided by 11 is definitely worth your time because 11 is prime. So it's really good to check those prime numbers. And that is not a nice number. 43 divided by 12, waste of time because it's even. 43 divided by 13, 13's prime. It's definitely worth it. And it's not a factor. 43 divided by 14, waste of time. 14's even. Divide by 15, waste of time because 5 did not go into it. That means 15 won't. Divide by 16, waste of time, even. 17 is prime, so that's definitely worth it. If I divide by 17, I get 2.529, and it keeps going. So 17 is not a factor. 18 is a waste of time. 19 does not work. 43 divided by 20, waste of time. It doesn't end in a 0. Divide by 21 is a waste of time because 3 is a factor, 21, but not of 43. 43 divided by 22, waste of time. 23 is prime. That's not a waste of time. 43 divided by 23 is 1.86. And 23 is past the halfway point of 43, so you're not going to find any other factors. We can stop and we can say this is prime. 91, let's try 91. 91 is not even, so 2 is not a factor. You don't have to try any other even numbers now. 91 divided by 3 is not nice. So darn it, not a factor. So it could be prime, we don't know yet. 91 also doesn't add up, or I'm sorry, it adds up to 10. 10 is not divisible by 3. Divide by 4 is a waste of time, but it is a decimal. 91 divided by 5, waste of time, but it is a decimal. 91 divided by 6, decimal. 91 divided by 7, whoa, there it is. 91 divided by 7 is 13. So because 91, you can actually stop right here right now, because 91 is not just 1 and 91 as a factor, it's also 7 times 13. So this is composite because it has more factors than just one in itself. I'm going to let you try letter C, and it ends up being a prime number. When do you stop? When you get to something over the halfway point of that. So anything after 54 will not work. So think about shortcuts. How can you do it? If not, you got to do all of these divisions up through 54.